EBN Weekend Edition starts now. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has launched a scathing attack on President William Ruto, accusing him of waging political and systematic warfare against the Mount Kenya region. Speaking during a burial of his aunt in Nyeri County, Gachagua claimed that Ruto is deliberately sidelining leaders from the region in the government appointments and orchestrating targeted crackdowns against its residents. Gachagua stated that over 90% of those recently arrested during nationwide protests hail from the Mount Kenya community. He also alleged that President William Ruto had ordered a security operation targeting the region, further fueling discontent. In a rare moment of contrition, Gachagua expressed deep regret for disregarding warnings from his late aunt about President William Ruto's political intentions. He apologized to the Mount Kenya community for backing Ruto in the 2022 general elections, saying he now sees the betrayal in his hindsight. He also singled out Kikuyu Member of Parliament and National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, accusing him of colluding with President William Ruto and suppress and harass young protesters, including DCP Youth Leader Peter Kinyanjui alias Kawanjiro, who Gachagua said was among those unfairly targeted.
But our greatest concern, where we need help, is the decision that was made last Saturday in Statehouse, when the president summoned all the police commanders and ordered an onslaught and persecution of our community. And it has begun in earnest. Out of the more than 400 people who have been arrested, 92% are people from this region. On trumped-up charges, no evidence, nothing. Just as my aunt here had told me, that this community shall face persecution. We are shocked that ya kwamba huyu majority leader wetu, the MP for Kikuyu, working with William Ruto, have embarked on a scheme to have our young children taken to all manner of courts with all manner of charges. I was informed yesterday, there is a girl called Wanjiko Thigan and Peter Kawanjiro. The MP for Kikuyu ordered the DCI to have the two arrested because they are from Kiambu and be charged with banning the locals in Kikuyu and storming police stations in Dagoretti. They were arrested with no evidence, nothing, no charge, nothing. And the police went to court to say that they be given 21 days to continue with investigations. Our lawyers here, led by Macharia and others, and I want to thank our lawyers, put up a very strong case that they need the witnesses to be identified and the facts of the case to be put before the magistrate. And in the two cases, the magistrate ruled there is nothing, there is no reason for them to be held. Moja akaachiliwa on free board, mwingine kwa cash bail ya 200,000. Huyu MP wa Kikuyu akatafuta William Ruto na akamwambia hiyo watoto wasiwachiliwe, lazima wafungwe. So polisi wakasema the only way, because now the courts have released them, there is no other way. They should be rearrested and charged with offenses under the Terrorism Act. So inside a police station, elite officers from the anti-terrorism unit came in commando style with very serious weapons, firing in all directions, and rearrested the two young people. A young girl of 24, a young boy of, I think, 28.
Right, at the same time, opposition leaders have strongly criticized President William Ruto for his controversial move to construct a church within the State House premises. The criticism comes amid growing public debate over the intersection of religion and state affairs in Kenya. Now, speaking during the burial of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's aunt Gladys Gathoni in Inono Village, Madeira constituency, top opposition figures led by PLP party leader Martha Karua and former Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi condemned their president's decision, terming it as a misuse of public space. Karua asserted that the public land should not be used for religious structures regardless of personal beliefs or funding sources. Muturi echoed similar sentiments, warning that blurring the lines between state and religion risks undermining the constitutional principle of neutrality.
Hiyo mambo ya kujenga kanisa, Statehouse si shamba lako. enda ujenge kwako Karen, jenga kwako Sugoi, enda kwa kila kanisa iko na harambee wajenge. Na hiyo ya Kiambaa iko karibu na wewe, iko kwa hiyo area yako, anza na hiyo. Vile unawacha kanisa ya Kiambaa na unaenda kwa zingine, inatuambia story yako wewe. It tells a story about you. Ni nini inakufanya usikaribie kanisa ya Kiambaa? You are confessing something we already know. So mimi nasema tusichanganye mambo ya serikali na mambo ya binafsi. Mali yako tumia vile unataka. Mali ya umma usitumie kama ni yako. Na hiyo ni kazi yetu kama wanasiasa na lazima tuiendeleze.
Nayo Article 8 kwa katiba yetu. In fact, the subheading, the subtitle is State and Religion. Now, is one of the shortest articles. There is no state religion. Hiyo tu. Kwa sababu kama vile Kilio amesema, kuna mambo ambayo tunaweza kuleta mzaha. Mali ya umma tumejua vile imechukuliwa. Ardhi. Ile ardhi pahali Ikulu iko, hiyo ni mali ya umma. Ukitaka kufanya kitu chochote pale, lazima kiidhinishwe kupitia njia ya umma, na hiyo ni kupitia bunge la kitaifa. So ukianza kusema tunatumia hela yako pale, tunajenga kanisa. Yes, tunataka kanisa. But it has been explained very well here by His Excellency. Bona bako wale watujaona siku moja unatuambia unatumia hizo hela zako za kibinafsi kulijenga lile kanisa la Kiambaa. Tafadhali wajinga waliisha Kenya. Hiyo pelekea pahali pengine.
Right, moving on, former Deputy President and DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua has led a chorus of criticism from the opposition leaders against President William Ruto for constructing a church within the Statehouse compound. The leaders argue that the move undermines the constitutional principle of religious neutrality and raises concerns about the use of public land for religious purposes. Now, speaking during the burial of his aunt Gladys Gathoni in Inoro village, Madira constituency, Gachagua condemned the president's decision, stating that it sends a divisive message in a country that prides itself on religious inclusivity. His wife, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, added her voice to the debate, urging President William Ruto to take a moment of reflection on the growing public discontent and reconsider actions that appear insensitive to the country's current socio-political atmosphere. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka also faulted the church project, insisting that such an initiative must undergo public participation. He warned that bypassing the public on matters on national significance could set a dangerous precedent and erode constitutional principles.
Si ile kanisa ilichomwa pale Kiambaa pamoja na watoto wajenge hiyo kwanza kabla kujenga hii Statehouse. We don't have a problem if you like building churches. But since 2007, why don't you get a part of that 1.2 billion and go and rebuild the Kiambaa church that was touched with our children inside?
And Mr. President, we used to pray with you. You used to speak in tongues. You are a Christian. God called you, and you want to build a church. Let's build the spiritual one first. Because the blood that is in our hands, that is not right. Mr. President, go back, think about it. As a Christian, we must follow the 10 Commandments.
Separation of state and religion. I want to tell William Ruto, even when the British colonized us, and we knew that our colonizers were believers in the Church of England, unasikia Bishop of Canterbury, that is the same ACK connectivity. church of the province of Kenya as it then was. They didn't want to go, they did not go to Statehouse, ofisi ya gavana kujenga kwa ofisi ya gavana kanisa hapa ndani. Because again, recognize our institution. If you want to commit a constitutional, impeachable offense, then continue with this thinking. Because Kenyans are able to see through this. Kwa mfano, kama unatumia pesa zako 1.2 billion, Wakenya wanajua mshahara wako ni 1.4 million or thereabouts. How many years would it take ukitumia mshahara wako, assuming you are using all of it, kujenga kanisa kwa Ikulu? So we must call this out. If you act in a manner, that's why I called it impeachable, because you cannot, without public participation, arrogate to yourself the responsibility of building a church inside Statehouse without asking the Kenyan population. Je, maonaji?
Now, a section of Muslim leaders in Mombasa have urged President William Ruto to construct a mosque at Statehouse following the recent establishment of a church within the premises. They argue that the Statehouse is a national symbol meant to unite all Kenyans regardless of their religious affiliations and should not reflect equal, should reflect equal respect for all faiths. Now, speaking during a protest against the recent High Court ruling that allows children born out of wedlock in Muslim families to inherit their father's property, the leaders said the decision contravenes Islamic laws. They expressed concerns that such judgments erode religious principles and disregard the faith-based legal frameworks that guide many Kenyans. The leaders maintained that constructing a mosque at Statehouse would serve as a symbolic gesture of inclusivity and religious respect for the Muslim community.
Pia tunainua sauti yetu na ombi pia twaomba, maadamu Statehouse ni sehemu ambayo kwamba inabeba watu wa dini zote, kama ilivyopatikana jengo la Wakristo ama kanisa, nasi pia twaomba ipatikane jengo la Waislamu ili tukiwa sehemu kama ile nasi tupate sehemu ya kuswali. Takbir! Haya ni mambo ambayo kwamba yanagongana kabisa na dini yetu ya Uislamu. Tunauliza kama Waislamu, leo iko wapi haki yetu ya kuabudu ikiwa mmetutolea hukumu kama hii?
Mujue this time itakuwa ni biashara. Hawa wanawake wanarukaruka nje kule watakuwa wakifanya biashara na miili yenu kabisa. Anakuja anatembea na wewe na kuzalishia mtoto, anakuletea na kupeleka kotini, anakuja kudai, utadaiwa ulipe, umwangalie yule mtoto.
All right, moving on, Wajir East Member of Parliament Aiden Daud has appealed to Kenyan youth to ensure that the upcoming Sabasaba protests scheduled for next week remain peaceful and free from violence or distraction. Speaking during a development tour of his constituency, the legislator urged young people to maintain discipline and patriotism even as they express their concerns and demands. He emphasized the importance of peaceful civic engagement, questioning that unrest only derailed their cause. MP Daud also took a swipe at certain political leaders whom he accused of manipulating the Gen Z generation for their own political gain. He urged youth to remain vigilant and not allow themselves to be used as pawns in political battles.
Kuna goons walipangwa na MPs na polisi wakakuja kuchoma mali huko, si ndio? Kuna hii maneno yanasemekana ya mande ya Sabasaba. Saa hii tunaongea saa hii, wale goons ambaye wanapangwa kuja kuangaisha watu hapa Nyeri na huyu mjumbe hapa wanakutana pale Sunset Hotel Sagana. Mkutano unaendelea saa hii na polisi wako hapo na goons wanapanga vile watakuja kuchoma mali ya watu, alafu wakuje kushika watoto wetu kuwawekelea makosa. So wewe mheshimiwa wa Mathira, tafadhali, hiyo mkutano unaendelea naye na polisi muko pale mnapanga. Tungetaka kuuliza vijana wale wako hapo karibu Sagana, mkibia hapo Sun City, ndio mtoe hiyo watu hapo mbio. Hao wanapanga hiyo maneno.
It is true that there is an issue of Gen Z. Gen Z are our sons and daughters. There's nothing wrong with being young. There's nothing wrong with the people agitating for their rights. But we say that any protest, any demonstration, people have the right to demonstrate. I am a lawyer and I'm a lawmaker. So our constitution guarantees the right to picket, the right to demonstrate. But the Constitution is very, very clear. You can only picket or demonstrate peaceably, which means you must come in peace. So another thing that I am alive to is the fact that Kenya has a very young population and we have very high unemployment rate. As a government, as a country, we will address the unemployment issues so that our young men and women have something to do. We encourage them to continue doing what they are doing, but we discourage them from violence. We discourage them from destruction of life and property. So Sabasaba is a date in our calendar.
Right now, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Geoffrey Ruku has launched a scathing attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and his allies, accusing them of inciting national division and spreading messages that threaten the country's unity. Speaking in Mogotio, Baringo County, during the official launch of a new Huduma Center aimed at improving access to government services, CS Ruku claimed that recent statements by the opposition leaders are fueled by bitterness and frustrations over being sidelined in the current administration. Accompanied by a section of Kenya Kwanza MPs, Ruku condemned what he termed as politically motivated rhetoric, saying it undermines the spirit of national cohesion and development.
Watu wa vitina, watu wa roho chafu, watu ambao kazi yao ni kusema Kenya ni nchi ya shares, watu ambao wanasema ati Kenya ni ya cousins. Sisi katika taifa la Kenya, sisi ni mandugu na mandanda. We are brothers and sisters as the people of the Republic of Kenya. We have one flag, one national anthem, one boundary of the Republic of Kenya. Ama namna gani? Tuko na katiba moja ya nchi ya Kenya. Ukisikia wale ambao wamepoteza network, ambao wafikiri maneno ya Kenya, wako na ukabila, wao wanaona ukabila peke yake. Ati kazi yao ni kufikiria iko mlima, na hiyo mlima hata sisi tumetoka huko.
Sisi na timu ya Rigathi Gachagua, Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene, sisi ni tofauti kama usiku na mchana. Sisi ni tofauti, hata ukiangalia sura zao ni tofauti na sisi. Ukiangalia hata maumbile ni tofauti na sisi. Ukiangalia mafikira ni tofauti na sisi. Wao kazi ni fitina, vita, porojo na matusi.
I want to tell the other team whose their only agenda is bitterness, their only agenda is hatred, their only agenda is tribal profiling, from Kasin to Mashemeji to I don't know what, trying to align the lining of nepotism and tribalism at every corner and opportunity they get, that there's a clear difference between the bitterness, the team of bitterness and the progressive team.
All right, moving on, Private Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has urged young Kenyans to exercise caution in their use of artificial intelligence, that is AI, warning against its misuse and the potential consequences of irresponsible digital practices. Speaking during the burial of Reverend Mildred Wanyama, the mother of former Harambee Stars player McDonald Mariga and Victor Wanyama, Mudavadi emphasized that while AI offers great opportunities, it must be used ethically and responsibly. He further called on the youth not to take the country's democracy for granted, reminding them that freedoms enjoyed today were hard-won and must be protected through respectful civic engagement.
Kwa hivyo tusidanganyike kama Wakenya. Mtu anajua kitu kinaitwa artificial intelligence, AI. Na mimi nazungumza haya kwa sababu nataka wale wanapenda mtandao muelewe. Wanachukua yule mtu ambaye anabeba bunduki hapa, wanaweka artificial voice, the artificial intelligence, ati huyo mtu anaongeza Kiingereza kisanifu nini. My friend, it's artificial intelligence. Yeye hazungumzi, they don't converse in English, they converse in French. But conveniently, wanamweka kwamba anatoa story in very fluent English. It is artificial intelligence. Kuhadaa vijana wetu wafikiri kwamba hapo ndio kuna uongozi. Hakuna uongozi pale. Hiyo ni military government. It is a military government. It is not a civilian government. a civilian government mtapata nafasi 2027 to make a decision in a civilian government. Kwa hivyo tuheshimu sana haya mambo ya demokrasia ili tusijaribu kuyatupa kule nje. Na hatukatai watu kuzungumza. Wanaweza zungumza, wamepewa nafasi, wanazungumza, wanatusi watu. But let me tell you, hakuna taifa lingine katika bara la Afrika ambalo lina demokrasia kama hii yetu. Wale wajanja si walijaribu wanasiasa wengine hapa, wakajaribu kwenda kwa nchi jirani. Nini ilifanyika? Hawakutoka kwa airport, wakarudishwa. Lakini hapa mtu anazungumza, anaenda nyumbani. There is a lot of democracy here. Tusifikiri ni mchezo. Let us not throw it out of the window. Let us respect and consolidate the democracy here. But let us also respect each other. Tuheshimiane. Kwani kuna nini?
Right, moving on, leaders and residents of Isiolo County have raised the alarm over escalating insecurity, including threats, abductions, and intimidations, allegedly targeting a member of county assembly allied to the county governor. Now, they are now calling on the national government to intervene urgently and restore calm. Led by Sulu South Member of Parliament Mohammed Tupi, the leaders urged President William Ruto and Transport Cabinet Secretary, that is the Transport Cabinet Secretary, or rather the Interior Cabinet Secretary, that is Kipchumba Murkomen, to act swiftly to ensure the safety of all MCAs and bring stability back to Isiolo. They also demand an immediate investigation by the Directorate of Criminal Investigation into the recent abductions of former Departmental Chief Officer Abdi Rahman. The leaders emphasized that the Director of Public Prosecution, that is the DPP, should pursue legal action against those responsible for the violence, threats, and misuse of public resources.
We have reliable information that the governor is securing favorable court orders in advance, designed to shield him once the Senate concludes the impeachment process. Once again, we repeat, democracy is not a crime. Impeachment is not treason. And MCAs are not criminals. What is unfolding in Isiolo is a direct affront to the rule of law and the will of the people.
Right, moving on to matters education now. Jomvu Member of Parliament Badi Twalib has urged university and primary school students to resist peer pressure and instead concentrate on their education for a better future. Speaking during the issuance of the Presidential Bursary Fund to over 50 students, where more than 1.2 million Kenya shillings was disbursed, Badi emphasized the importance of academic dedication. He commended parents for their continuous support, which he said has contributed greatly to their academic progress of the learners. He further encouraged students to continue submitting their academic results to his office every term. The MP also sent condolences to the family of the teacher, or rather of a teacher, who lost their life in a tragic road accident involving a school bus ferrying students to a competition in Taita Taveta County. He reported that the students involved in the accident are recovering well and called for calm among residents.
Leo kuwapongeza wale wote beneficiaries wa Presidential Award ambao tumeweza kuwapatia checks zao kwa mashule, na leo tumeweza kutoa checks takribani ya pesa milioni 1.2 ambayo katika hizo checks tumepeana kwa watoto university na vile vile kwa watoto wa high school. Presidential bursaries inasaidia kwa sababu mtoto tukimshikilia kutoka form 1 anasomeshwa mpaka form 4. Kwa maana hiyo yule university akiingia first year mpaka last year. Na leo tumeona watoto wa Baraton University, tumeona watoto wa Kenyatta University. Kitu ambacho niliwasema hapo, nimewasihi watoto wasome kwa bidii. Waepuke mambo ya mimba za mapema, waepuke mambo ya mihadarati, waepuke na peer pressure. Na nikasema kwenye hotuba yangu vizuri sana, kila mtoto anaenda shule kivyake. Ukitoka nyumbani jua umetoka wapi. Maneno ya kufika kwa shule na kuanza sasa kuandamana na magrupu ambao sio, ni jambo ambalo alitatufurahisha. Nataka kuchukua fursa hii kusema pole kwa watoto wetu wa Mikindani Primary School kwa kupoteza mwalimu wetu mmoja kwa ajali ambayo iliweza kutokea jana. Mimi mwenyewe binafsi niliweza kwenda kuwasafirisha wakati wakiwa wanaenda katika hii mambo ya mchezo yao. Kwa hivyo hivi sasa Jomvu tuko na watoto wetu Mwatate, tuko na watoto wetu Mokowe. Wote wanafanya mashindano ili kuenua Jomvu juu. Nachukua nafasi hii kutoa rambirambi zangu kwa familia ya mwalimu aliyetuacha na wanafunzi waliokuwa hospitali jana. Mimi kama mbunge nilienda hospitali hapo, nikaweza ku clear bills, nikaona kuwa wamekuwa hali nzuri na tukaweza kuwa discharge.
Right now, let's get sporty. Kenya's esports science, or rather scene, is set to light up once again as the Betika Esports Showdown returns for its second edition with up to 2 million Kenya shillings in cash prizes up for grabs. The two-day tournament will take place on August the 2nd and 3rd of 2025 at the Broadwalk Mall, bringing together the country's top gaming talent in a high-stakes, action-packed competition organized by leading betting company Betika. The showdown will feature thrilling contest in EA Sports FC 2025, Call of Duty Mobile and Mortal Kombat, and will be open to gamers of all levels from amateurs and seasoned pros. Last year's champion Michael Ngwai gamer tag Kosti from Mikindani, Mombasa, is set to defend his title. Ngwai emerged victorious over 1,100 participants in the 2024, earning Kenya shillings 500,000 and a 2-year scholarship. He described the experience as a dream come true and promised to bring his best to the 2025 tournament. Right, moving on, KCB racing team drivers are optimistic as they prepare to take on the challenging terrain of the Rwanda Mountain Gorilla Rally, the third leg of the Africa Rally Championship running from July the 4th to 6th in Kigali. The high-stakes rally has received a significant boost from BPR Bank, which has pledged 4 million to support 4 top contenders, reigning ARC champion Karan Patel, Nikhil Sachania, Uganda's Michael Muluka, and Rwanda's celebrated female driver Queen Kalimpinya. Speaking ahead of the event, KCB Group Director of Marketing and Communications Rosalind Gishuru reaffirmed the bank's dedication to motorsport development. All eyes will be on Karan Patel and his navigator Khan, who are looking to climb up the RC standings. Patel currently sits 6th with 35 points, trailing Uganda's Yasin Nasir, the current championship leader, with 63 points. Kenyan drivers Nikhil Sachania and Carl Tundo are tied in second place with 50 points, followed by Jeremiah Wahome, 52 points, and Saman Vohra with 36 points.
Well, regarding your question of my experience in WRC, very far from expectation. Our result was totally different from what we expected. Simply because on day one we passed through a very tricky section of Fesh, and basically a lot of dust went into the engine, causing terminal damage, as we would call it, to the engine, and so our rally was over day one, whereas we were really hoping for something we achieved in 2021, which was an 8th overall finish in WRC and second in WRC 2. So we had a very strong finish in 2021, but since then we've had a lot of bad luck in this particular event, and we were really hoping for a breakthrough in 2025, but looks like we'll have to wait till 2026. But after that, yes, we did do the Pearl of Africa rally in Uganda, and fortunately we came out on top. So although it doesn't make up for our downfall in WRC, it's a good result for the ARC Championship.
The WRC was a heavy hitter. The stages have been, if you compare Uganda was very, very smooth, flowing stages, whereas Kenya is, yes, you have your flowing stages, but it's quite technical, it's rough. So it was quite forgiving to be in Rwanda. In Uganda. In Rwanda, we were there last year, and from the itinerary, it looks more or less the same stages or similar stages. So having that experience of last year, I think we understand what to expect. Even there, it's a very fast stages, very open, not very open, sorry, very flowing, quite narrow in some areas, but all in all, the surface is quite smooth.
Right, it is exactly that 2 minutes past the top of the hour. That's going to wrap up our broadcast here on EBN Weekend Edition. Of course, many thanks for keeping us company here on the program. My name is Macharia. I want to sample some of your feedback here on Facebook and also as well as on TikTok. Macho saying he is watching. Many thanks for your viewership. And Wambura Kahure saying she is watching. Many thanks for watching. Shamrock 001, Caroline Mudhoni, Karen Chima, Mary Natasha, and of course, just about to name a few. Tunasema asante sana for your viewership. My name is Macharia once again, signing off. With yourself, a good night, and remember to go to church tomorrow. And as always, let's do this again when God says we do.